The birth rate in Russia has fallen into its lowest level in a quarter of a century. About a third of Russians who had previously considered having a child have decided to give up on this idea for a while. According to the study by Russia's Higher School of Economics, the main reason are financial problems, Russia's war against Ukraine, the political situation in the Federation, and emotional tension in society. According to the data from the Federal State Statistics Service, Russia's mortality rate continues to rise. The Federation has launched a large-scale propaganda campaign. The Kremlin is trying to persuade Russian women to give birth no matter what.
I sincerely believe that it is important to invest budgetary resources in promoting and popularizing the large family. Alexander Belsky, chairman of the Legislative Assembly of St. Petersburg, on Telegram.
The Russian economy is experiencing an acute labor shortage. Back in 2023, Russia's first deputy minister of industry and trade called the shortage of labor the key problem. According to the Russian central bank, the shortage of personnel has only grown since then in all sectors of the economy. About 70% of enterprises experience it. Experts consider Russia's war against Ukraine to be the main cause. Mobilization, massive losses of the Russian army, and record-breaking immigration are all consequences of the war unleashed by the Kremlin. The remaining Russians have to overwork every day. This is the data from a survey by the job search platform Headhunter.
The increase in the workload among Russians occurred against the backdrop of acute staff shortages, as well as the transition of some enterprises to multi-shift work and the increased economic involvement of women. In particular, in the first quarter of 2024, the number of positions with overtime work in Russia increased by 40%, from the Moscow Times.
Russia's war against Ukraine is draining huge resources, economists say. Yanis Kluge, a researcher at the German Institute for International Security Affairs, has calculated that over the past 6 months, the war machine has taken from Russians almost 1.5 annual budgets of the National Economy Support Program, more than 3 annual budgets of the country's higher education system, 18 annual budgets of the National Health Care Program, and more than 90 annual budgets of an ordinary Russian region. To keep the country's economy afloat, the Russian central bank has once again raised the interest rate to 19%.
However, inflationary pressures have not abated. Sustainable inflation remains above that required to return to target next year.
Another rate increase is an attempt to temporarily stabilize the economy overheated by the war, experts say.
They keep rising the interest rate, specifically trying to target the consumer sector to try and slow down spending. On the one hand, perhaps to try and persuade people to put some of this surplus income into savings, where they'll get now close to 20%, and stop spending it. But also, their fear is that if this kind of bubble keeps expanding, then it will burst, and then the effects on the economy will be much more damaging.
The crisis in the Russian economy will reach its climax in the summer of 2025, the head of the main intelligence directorate of the Ukrainian Defense Ministry predicts.
They realize that the recession is coming. It is already painful and noticeable for them, but it is far from the peak. They predict that around the summer of 2025, the negative impact on the economy will become very significant.
Meanwhile, due to U.S. sanctions in the IT sector, a number of technology companies have announced their withdrawal from the Russian market or the introduction of new restrictions for Russian users. Reported by Anastasia Tarnavska, Natalia Husak, Volodymyr Shtanhelov, UATV News.